Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alex Kohls. I'm with the Small Business Administration, and I'd like to thank OVRDC for hosting and all the work that Stephanie and Gina have done to put this all together. Initially, what I want to do today is I want to talk about what the SBA does and kind of remind people that we are more than just COVID relief programs. So I'll do that briefly, and then I will get into providing some updates on the COVID relief programs, such as the EIDL and the Paycheck Protection Program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and start the presentation. If you do have questions, you can put them in the chat, or there's not too many of us on, so if you just want to ask it at the time too, that's fine as well. So the SBA, we have a lot of programs available to small businesses and to individuals who are looking to start a small business. So one of the main things that we do are provide business counseling. And the way that we do that is we provide funding to small business development centers and SCORE offices. So in Southern Ohio, there's an SBDC at the OSU South Centers in Piketon. They cover a 10-county area, and they can help you do a business plan. They provide business trainings, just general guidance through the life of your business. And they do that at all at no cost to the small business. What we're probably best known for, though, is access to capital. So that's why that's at the top on this screen. Essentially, when a business needs money for working capital, to purchase real estate, to start their business, a lot of times banks are very hesitant to lend that money. And so what the SBA does, we don't do any direct lending, but what we do is we come in and provide a guarantee to the lender and take on anywhere from 35% of the risk to 90% of the risk in some situations from the bank. And so then they are more likely to loan that money to the small business. So if you can't get the money on your own because you're just kind of in that gray area, that's where we can come in and help out. And then if you have an existing business, what we also can help do is government contracting. So most of you may know that the federal government is the largest purchaser in the world, and they buy everything. Just about anything you can think of, the federal government buys. So what we do is we partner with organizations such as the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, or PTAC. There is one in South Point, Ohio, that covers Southern Ohio. And essentially what they do is they help you find those opportunities that are available. They help get you registered with the government and other institutions. And then they just help you through the process of finding and applying for those opportunities. And again, this is another program that is at no cost to the small business. And then the last thing I'd like to touch on is export. So this is something in my wheelhouse and my background. So we do have financing available for international trade that banks really do like to utilize because it takes a lot of the risk off their shoulders. But again, there's also a grant program. And so what this grant program can do is it will offset some of the costs if you're looking to start exporting or if you're looking to expand your export markets. In addition, the state of Ohio, I don't know how many people know this, but the state of Ohio has 14 international offices, and those offices will do market research for a company. They'll help find partners in their respective countries, and this is at no cost to the individual business. So there are a lot of great resources available. There is an export assistance network, again, at the OSU South Centers in Piketon, and Kelly would come out and meet with you about your business, talk about exporting, what opportunities there are. So the first COVID relief program I'd like to talk about is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This was the first program that came out when the pandemic hit back in March. And so a lot of people probably associate this program with the advance or the grant that came with it. So essentially, if you were applying for this loan, you are also applying for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance, which was a grant based on the number of employees that you had. The Advance program has run out of money, so that's not available anymore. And I just want to say right now, just to get it out of the way, that if no matter who told you in the SBA that they were processing your grant or the advance for you and that you were about to get it, if you have not received it at this point, you're not going to get it unless Congress refunds that program, which they are considering in the new relief bill. But essentially the loan is up to $150,000 and it's at a fixed rate of 3.75%. In addition, the payments are deferred for the first year, and it's a long-term loan, which could be up to 30-year terms. So it is a long-term loan with a fixed interest rate, and you can use it for payroll, accounts payable, other bills, basically obligations that you could have met had it not been for the pandemic. What it's not to be used for is to expand your facility, buy new equipment. Essentially, one of my coworkers likes to say, it's to pay for things, but not to buy things. So we're not looking to expand or anything. We're just looking for you to weather this storm right now and get by without too much damage. So again, you can apply online. I have the link right here. It's not a hard application. And I also included the 1-800 number and the email for the help desk. Now, fair bit of warning, the 1-800 number and the email are super slow with answers if you even get an answer. So contact somebody locally like myself first, because we have run into many questions or may know somebody that has the answer a lot quicker. So at the very last slide on this presentation has all my contact information, but I've also included some of my coworkers as well. So for this program, well, first of all, you had to have been in business before February 15th of this year. You had to have started operations. But startups are eligible. The SBA has some sort of calculation, and so the loan is based on that calculation. So it's basically on the needs of your company at that point. And once we process the application, we'll tell you what you're eligible for. Anything under $25,000 does not require any collateral at all. And you don't need to do anything with your bank for this loan. This, in this instance, this is a direct loan from the U.S. government. So it does not involve your bank, but you should maintain that good communication with them and just kind of let them know about your situation. In addition, there are no fees for this program, and there is no prepayment penalty. So now I'd like to move on to the Paycheck Protection Program forgiveness. You cannot apply for the PPP anymore. That deadline has passed. So now we're moving into the next chapter of the PPP, and that's the forgiveness part. So a couple of things. I'm going to go over some of the main questions that we get and then talk about the process. But some things I would like to point out before I start. Number one, the banks are really helping us administer this program, because you have to apply with a lender, or had to apply with a lender for the funds, but then you also have to apply with them for forgiveness. But even though they are helping us, they are receiving a fee from the SBA to do this. So if you need help with the application, if you have questions, do not hesitate to ask the lender, because they are getting a fee. So don't let them, I've been telling everybody, do not let them tell you that they don't have time for you, that they're way too busy. They need to make some time, because they are getting a fee for each and every application that they are processing. And then the other thing, and I'll go into this a little bit more on the process, but just be patient through this process. It can be lengthy for the forgiveness, but what you have to keep in mind is that there are millions and millions of applications that have to be processed. And I've done some calls and some meetings with some congressmen in the Dayton area, and one in particular, he covers about a 4-county area, and it's all rural areas. And he was telling a company in our meeting that in his area alone, his district, he had 15,000 applicants in his district. So I can only imagine when you add, look at Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, not to mention Los Angeles, New York, Houston, Dallas. I mean, we're talking millions of applications. So we'll take some time. So the biggest question that we usually get is, when can I submit a forgiveness application? And do I have to wait till the coverage period is over? So when you applied for the loan, you chose either the 8-week period or the 24-week period. Regardless of which one you did choose at the time, you do not have to wait till the end. Once you have used all the loan proceeds, you can then become eligible to apply for forgiveness. So, you don't have to wait and wait. Again, this is going to be a lengthy process. So if you have used all the funds and want to go ahead and apply, then you're more than welcome to do that. So the second question requires just a little bit of setup. There are 2 types of applications. You have the standard application and you have the easy application. So the next question that we get a lot is, who can use the easy application? Because as you can tell, it's a lot easier to use it, not as much documentation or paperwork. So there are 3 groups that can use the easy application. If you are a sole proprietor, you have no employees, and you didn't include any salaries in the average monthly payroll, then you can use the easy application. Then there's the group of those borrowers who received funds and they didn't reduce wages by more than 25%, and they didn't reduce the number of employees or average paid hours. So if you are in that group, then you are also eligible for the easy application. And then the third group are those borrowers who didn't reduce wages by more than 25%, and they were unable to operate at the same level due to government restrictions. So the example I like to give here are restaurants or salons that, yeah, they are reopened, but they don't have the same operations as they had prior to the pandemic because of the restrictions on the number of people that are allowed into their facility at any one time. So that's just the example for that group. So there is documentation that the borrower has to submit to the lender in addition to the application. There are 3 general ones. You have to show, if you do have payroll, you have to show documentation that you paid the payroll with these funds. So whether that's bank account statements, tax forms, canceled checks, other kind of receipts. If you used non-payroll for the PPP for some non-payroll costs, which you were allowed to up to 40% of the funds to do that, you need to have proof of obligation and proof of payment. So again, canceled checks, receipts, invoices for utilities or the lease. And these are more on the lines of utility costs that every business pretty much has, you know, electric, gas, water, sewer, that sort of thing. It's not for additional debt that you may have acquired after February the 15th, because again, that's the cutoff date. The non-payroll costs had to have been established before February 15th. And then if you're filling out the standard form, which is the 3508, you need to do the loan forgiveness calculation form, the Schedule A, and basically this is just documenting how many employees, full-time equivalent employees you had, and basically what they were making before and after the pandemic. Again, there's also documentation that you need to maintain, but not necessarily need to submit. So you want to keep copies of everything first off, because you don't want to be caught with, you know, oh, the system crashed and everything was lost, or, you know, we never received that, you know, those kinds of things. So you always want to keep copies, but you also just any other documentation that you feel supports that you had used this for what it was intended for, definitely keep documentation like that. So some of these are employee pay records, and if you had any kind of safe harbors, you know, employees that you couldn't rehire or who found another job, or you know, something like that, you want to maintain that documentation. So the loan forgiveness process. So step one, obviously you complete the application and the supporting documentation. Then the next step is you would send that to the lender who processed the PPP for you. The lender will then review that according to the regulations that were passed through Congress and guided through by the SBA. And the lender has 60 days to complete the review and issue a decision on the application. So what kind of decisions can they approve, or what kind of decisions can they make? They can do a whole approval, just straight approval, where, you know, if you're a sole proprietor, you use $2,000 all for payroll, you know, very quick and easy application. They can just say, yeah, this is completely forgiven. That's what we think, and send that off to the SBA. Or, you know, they could look at an application and see, well, you spent 45% of the PPP on non-payroll, which is 5% above what you were allowed to. So we'll approve this for 95% forgiveness. And then that 5% will turn into a loan. Or they can just do a straight denial. The example I like to give here is we've heard all the stories about people buying cars or jewelry with this money. Well, if they try to get forgiveness and they send in their application and the banker looks at it and that's what they had purchased with it, that's just going to be a straight denial. So when the lender submits their decision to us at the SBA, they need to submit all the required documents, and then they also need to request forgiveness payment from us. So the third step, the SBA will send the forgiveness payment to the lender, plus any interest that accrued, and then at the same time we'll also deduct any EIDL advance or the grant that you may have received. So if you if you got a $100,000 PPP loan and you got a $10,000 EIDL advance, and all the PPP was forgiven 100%, it will only forgive 90,000 of it because that $10,000 is going to come straight off of the forgiveness amount. And then we have 90 days to complete this process. So as you can see on the previous slide, it started August, September. This slide, you have October, November, December. Well, August is gone and not that many people have applied. So we're already looking into January of 2021 being what the length of time could be to process your forgiveness application. So again, I just want to stress, you need to be patient through this process because it can take about 4 to 5 months total. So the next step is the lender then tells the buyer of what the decision was and what actions will be taken. So they'll either say, you know, your application was accepted for 100% forgiveness, you're done, off the hook, you know, thanks for using us. Or they'll say, hey, 95% of this was forgiven, but there is the 5%, so here's the remaining balance, and the first payment is due on X date. Or they'll just deny the application. If they deny the application, they have to let the borrower know in writing. And then the borrower has the option of asking that the SBA review it. In addition, the SBA has the right to review any loan of any size at any time. And if we decide to do that, we will notify the lender to let them know, and then the lender has to let the borrower know. So either way, no matter what goes on, the lender needs to keep you in the loop of what is happening because this is timely. You need to know what's going on. They need to be transparent and providing good customer service to you. So this is just some information about the loan review because the lender will have to upload some documents through a platform that they'll have with the SBA. And then that's also an opportunity that the SBA say, hey, you know, we see all this information, but we do need some additional documentation on whatever item it was. So that's where those other documents that you need to maintain may have to be sent in and used under the review. If you have been denied or if the forgiveness amount was decreased, you can appeal that decision. And we're still writing the full guidance on what that appeal process and how to do it looks like. But once it is agreed upon and written up, it will be posted at the U.S. Treasury's home website. So make sure you bookmark that at this time if you have a PPP loan, because that's where any information that I have comes from that website. So if you just Google the U.S. Treasury, go to their homepage. At the top is a red box about COVID relief programs. You click on that and you'll see a whole bunch of information on all the different programs. But the PPP especially, they've got frequently asked questions on both the application and the forgiveness, as well as dummy applications. So there is a lot of great information on there. So this is the contact information for myself. I'm at the top there. And then several of my coworkers in Columbus and Cincinnati who could also help you. Just keep in mind that we're not nearly as busy as we were, but sometimes we do get influxes of phone calls or emails, and it may take a few days to get back to you. If it's something really urgent and you're not hearing an answer from me, don't hesitate to contact one of my coworkers. So that's the end of the presentation. Again, I'll send it to Gina and Stephanie to help distribute that out to the group. I know I went through a whole lot of information fairly quickly, but I'm more than happy to try and answer any questions.
pretty quiet.
Yes.
Everybody knows everything.
That's right. That's right. I must have done a really good job.
You did. All right. Well, do you have anything else, Alex?
No, that's it. And I just want to just kind of remind people we are more than COVID relief. So if you want to start a business, expand your business, need any kind of assistance, don't hesitate to reach out.
Well, thank you for sharing with us today. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for hosting.
No problem. I want to just give a little brief overview of our revolving loan fund programs. We have a new operating capital loan fund, basically COVID relief through the EDA CARES Act, through EDA from the CARES Act. So these are going to be low interest, basically business sustainability loans, ranging from $5,000 to $25,000. Interest rates will be as low as 2%. There will be no payments for the first 6 months. Terms will be 3 to 5 years based upon creditworthiness, the amount that you borrow, what your needs are. The application fee will be $100. And normally there's a bank required for our loans, but that is not the case for these. The way we're going to do this is, because I feel like we're probably going to get an influx of calls about this, we are going to do like a pre-application screening process online. That's not up yet, but it should be in the next week or so. So basically you can just send businesses that need help to our website, and there will be, a brief questionnaire just to make sure they fit, what we're looking for and what's eligible. And then we'll review those pre-applications and reach out and let them know either they're not eligible or they are, and here's the application to fill out. So we're working on putting the finishing touches on that. We hope to be able to start making loans by the end of October, but I don't want to wait until then to start taking applications. I want to be ready to start closing loans by the end of October. So like I said, we'll have that up hopefully in the next week or so. And then we also still have our normal revolving loan fund. We have limited funds right now. I think we have about $300,000 available. We can do loans up to $300,000. The interest rate's pretty low, 3 to 5% probably right now. Just depends on the project. But if you have anybody that has a need, they can reach out to me and I can talk to them about that. Also, let me mention on the working capital loans, those are just for existing businesses. So if somebody's trying to start up, that won't be. It's just try to help businesses get through the rest of the COVID crisis, which hopefully ends soon. Sorry, I went through that kind of quick. Does anybody have any questions about that? It looks like Gina has put the flyer for that up in the chat box. If anybody wants that flyer. All right. Well, thank you guys for attending. You have anything else, Alex?
No, thanks a lot.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. And like Gina said, I think she's going to be putting this up on Facebook or sending it out. I'm not exactly sure what, but this little recording will be somewhere, probably on our website and on Facebook. Thank you guys all so much for your time.